we're almost done with the kombucha train. We can get back to
beer.
Yeah,
that's the one thing that I'm really looking forward to is getting back to beer after The Last of Us. It started out as this fun idea, but now I'm just like, I'm kombucha'd out, dog.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still look forward to trying a new one each week.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm not drinking kombucha during the rest of the week and I'm just having a beer and I get to try a new beer from a new brewery. I mean, honestly, at like our liquor store here in town, like just one of them, there's enough beer there that if you had one new beer a week, you would never repeat the same beer for like the rest of your life.
It'd take a while.
It'd take a long ass time.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd ever repeat. I think you'd die before. I mean, I'm not even talking about having like a whole 6-pack a week or anything, but like just have one beer that's new each week that you haven't had ever before, and you wouldn't drink them all. You wouldn't finish them all.
It'd take a while.
Yeah.
In 10 years of your life, you would only have tried 520 beers.
Yeah, and there's more than that for sure.
Which is,
There's easily, I think, 30 or 40 years worth.
Mm-hmm. I like some of those big liquor stores, like the big, like giant Walmart style ones where you just get a cart.
Wilbur's?
Yeah. But because you can find anything you want in there.
Just about.
But then sometimes I just like going to the tiny one. But then when I get in there,
like the Korean one?
Yeah, they just don't have all the options.
I love the Korean one near my house where it is legitimately like the owner and his wife, or maybe it's the owner's son and his girlfriend or wife, whatever.
Yeah.
They just sit on like this super broken in like green couch from the 70s, it looks like.
And
it's low sit and the counter is really low. And they just sit behind it watching a TV literally facing them on the counter. And I mean, the whole liquor store is maybe the square area of our like studio right here.
Yeah.
And everything is like just piled up on itself. Like there's no organization.
And there's no
outside
there's
of
no
the
back
fridges.
room where they store inventory necessarily.
I think there
is also, but it's like,
because like the back wall is just fridges.
Oh yeah.
But it's only like maybe 10 feet of fridges.
Right.
And then there's like storage back behind there. Everything else is like storage in front of the fridges where it's just like, oh, you see something you want? Like, okay, grab it.
Yeah. Something I really like those where we live, one in America, two specifically where we live in like this like pretty well off upper middle class type of city or whatever. And there's people who are super wealthy and there's also people who are really struggling down and out. But
I would say if we remove the college student population, this is one of the rare places in Colorado that has more middle and upper class than lower class.
Right. Yeah. Most people are doing pretty good. But with that just comes like more strip malls, more, Walmart, super Targets, whatever, those types. It's just everything becomes so much more under one roof. And the little mom and poppy places start to die out. And we've seen this is happening all across America. It's been happening for a long time. But I do love like there's places in here that still have this, but especially when you travel to certain other big cities and places where you can like, you just like go into like a Greek guy's restaurant and it was like, he's like second generation and like you walk in, there's like 3 tables on the left and there's like a picture of like 2 famous people on the wall or whatever. And like, there's just kind of like a box of buns stacked up like next to the register, not behind the register, but like where you're standing.
Yeah.
And the dude has a greasy apron on, and it's like he's running this place, and like you grab your food, you sit down, it tastes good, it tastes authentic, and the people coming in and out of there are regulars, are routine people who are in there.
Yeah.
And then it's just like those little places are the spots where culture is held and culture happens, and then so we're slowly losing those things. And the like I love, there's a couple hookah places in town that are owned by like guys who are first or second generation, and you walk in there and there's 4 or 5 guys on the back couch just like speaking Arabic, older gentlemen like who you can tell just like aren't like they might be American citizens, but they're first or second generation, and they're back there talking in Arabic, laughing, doing their thing. And I like to go to those places.
Yeah, I agree. There's a gelato shop I like going to here that is like the owner. He's there next to the cash register. I don't know if he speaks much, like he's never spoken a lot of English to me, so I don't know how much he really knows, or if he just has a thick accent. But he has like just local kids working for him that like take your order and do all the talking. But it's like it's a gelato shop, but at the same time, it's also like you can get Italian or Italian pizza, subs, meat. You can just buy like a brick of meat to take home and cook.
Yeah.
And it's a gelato shop.
Yep. And I think we even like restaurants maybe are like the last holdouts. Those sorts of like
local restaurants,
local,
you mean?
like restaurants and like little coffee shops, smoke shops, whatever, that are not head shops, but like hookah shops, whatever, that have like the last holdouts. Where like it used to be the grocery store was owned by a family, and like the hardware store owned by a family.
I think,
and there are some little holdouts there, but like I personally forget that there used to not be a Walmart. Like there used to be a vacuum store. Or whatever.
Dude, I personally think about the outlet malls. When they were just like, the outlet malls are done, dude. Like, I mean, they're closing everywhere. Those little outlet strip malls where you can go to like a Nike outlet, or like there's like local businesses too. But they just like, they can't keep up with like the main big things are just right across the highway, like Costco and all that stuff. So, or
like even it's funny now what's happening to those companies that all came in and like, whatever. So say like a thing like Foot Locker.
Yeah.
They have every type of shoe, in that, like in an outlet mall. Those things are now they're experiencing what the local family owned things experienced via, Amazon online stuff. And then, and retail's in trouble all across.
It's dying, man. Well, it's changing. Yeah. It's not dying, but it's changing. I think like there will always be like a town like this one that has like a pretty affluent, I would say, like, no matter how many college kids come and go, like there's always like families that are doing pretty well. And they like, I think, the feel of a small town, and I think that's like why like we see the small businesses still here, like, thriving in downtown versus like, another chain restaurant. Like what, the one that just went out of business, it took out, like essentially a small business closed. They came in and then they closed. And now it's another small business. I can't remember. It wasn't CB and Potts, but it was Old Chicago.
Oh yeah.
And dude, the service there sucked. It was garbage. But now it's a local business again, a local bar.
And it's, yep. And has one gone out in between then? And a new one came in, I thought?
I don't think so.
Maybe not. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that um, that's a hard thing you see with restaurants a lot, where he'll see like a restaurant location. Someone keeps opening up like a similar or same restaurant in the same location, and they keep dying. It's like, bro, don't do that again. Like, it's not the right spot.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take your life savings and start a restaurant in this spot.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like, I do see a lot of, it's weird because like I've been here now long enough to have seen the like closing of things I really liked going to when I was a college kid.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, it's weird because now I'm used to the new stuff.
Oh yeah.
And like, it's harder to remember the old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, if you're listening, welcome to the Mick and Pat show. I'm Mick.
And I'm Pat.
And we appreciate you listening, especially our kin out there, repeat listeners. Thanks for sticking with us. We're gaining some steady traction here, and I have an update for you, Pat.
Really?
Your gift is approaching.
All right.
It will be, I still can't give you like a firm timeline, but it's wrapping up.
Yeah. So at Christmas time, or like maybe like a week before Christmas, like, all right, let's do gifts on the show, and then that's all right, because guess what? My birthday's coming up.
Your birthday's coming up.
So there we go.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
yeah,
old man, dude.
Old man.
All right, do you know what we're doing for your birthday?
I do.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if it was a surprise or not.
It's not a surprise. Yeah, my birthday party is going to be a 13 going on 30 party.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be laser tagging.
Yep.
And I think the party will go one of two ways. It'll be lame, or it's going to be a lot of fun. And I don't think
it'll be lame.
I think there's a lot of adults showing up to laser tag.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm excited about it.
I think there's at least 20 coming as of now, and it could push up into like potentially 40, which if it gets that big at a laser tag place with all adults, we're just going to wreck the children.
Smoke break.
Smoke break.
Hey, Ken, it's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you can put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, zero fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick and Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution. Oh, dude, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Just grabbing a child
As a human shield.
by the back of their vest and just carrying them around. Just disposing of them when I'm done with them.
So
like hold them up while they're taking shots, and then I shoot them in the back and toss them to the side.
Yeah, get like 2 or 3 points off of them and then send them back out. I think that it's been a long time since I laser tagged.
Oh yeah, same.
So I don't know how fun I'll think it is, but I think I'll think it's pretty dang fun.
I think 15 years for me since I've laser tagged.
Yeah. I guess I did laser tag once in college, like me and all my roommates, we were just like, let's go do it. So we like got in the car, ran over to a spot, and there was nobody there. And we had like 7 dudes. And there's this like guy behind the counter. There's a laser tag place at a bowling alley. And a Tuesday night or something, nothing's happening. And we're getting in there and we're like, bro, we need one more to make it 8, you know? And we'd already played 1 round. And it kind of starts to get expensive fast for a college kid to be playing a bunch of rounds of laser tag.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's like, it's not as pricey as paintball, but it can get up there pretty quick.
Yeah. Like it's surprisingly high for a little 10-minute round or whatever. So we told the guy behind the counter, like, bro, we need one more to make it 8. And he's like, he looks around, like kind of like for like the manager, and it's just like, let's do it. And then we proceeded to play like 5 rounds for free. He was like, let's freaking go. So he suited up his laser gun, and we went in there and just got real sweaty.
Did they like keep track of score at all or anything like that?
Yeah,
that's like the best part is like actually being able to keep track of your tally.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know some places they just like send you in and like you don't know how well you did or how many times you got shot or whatever. Yeah. You don't know your KD.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think it'll be fun.
It'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
But, dude, I recently got something that I feel like is a game changer for personal fitness.
Flushable wet wipes.
No, had those a while now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're still not supposed to flush them, but
yeah, but dude,
if you rent,
you're not gonna throw them in your trash can.
Let's see, if you rent or live in an apartment, I mean, you're not paying for Roto-Rooter to come
especially
fix that thing.
Since I'm on the 3rd floor, it's not gonna clog my pipe.
Yeah, there's some dude down.
It's gonna clog that ground level peasant.
Yeah. It's just like, who keeps doing this to me?
Yeah. No. So I've been doing physical therapy for my shoulder, and I used to be able to crank out about 15 pull-ups in a set, and then do that back to back a few times with a little bit of a break, and I just can't even. I can hardly do one with my shoulder with how weak it's been. But at physical therapy, they show me these things that are literally pull-up bands. And you wrap them around the pull-up bar and you put your foot through it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you cross your other leg over and you can do pull-ups. And, dude, they're awesome, man. They're awesome. This is really helping me build up my strength again. So anyone out there who's trying to do a pull-up, if you've just been that person who's never been able to do one, or you're trying to get back to your glory days of fitness, dude, I can't recommend them enough. Especially, too, because they're great for, like, just normal strength resistance. Like there's some really thick, strong bands, and it came in a set of 3, and I've been using it for like, you can do curls with it pretty easily. Like you just put your feet through it, and then like hold it down to your side and try to do a curl. And I mean, you can easily do like weight resistance, essentially of like 135 pounds max with some of these bands. It's pretty insane how much of a game changer they are for at-home stuff workouts.
Especially for on the lighter end, because like there's certain things, like for instance, a pull-up. If you can't do one at all, it can be hard to do pull-ups to work up into doing one.
Yeah, it's almost I mean, if you can't do one, like your best bet is like doing honestly push-ups and dips until you can do one.
Right.
And that could take a while. Like you can be a push-up savant, but then to do a pull-up is totally different, like way of carrying your body weight and the resistance of it. And so, yeah, I mean, I have one, I think the weakest band is like something like 15 to like when it's stretched out all the way, its resistance is like, I want to say 50 pounds. So, I mean, even then, like it still helps quite a bit amount. Like it offsets quite a bit. And they're cool because as you're doing the pull-up, you're bearing more of your own weight.
Right. It shifts.
Yeah. And it just helps you in the beginning get going, like to get that momentum. But dude, like I was doing the pull-up bands now, and like I said, I could do probably 3 before I'm like my shoulders hurting. But with the pull-up band, I was able to bust out like 15 in like a set and like be like, all right, sweet, this is good, and just keep going. And for my wife, who's, she's a woman who is, I would say, taller than average, but still has about the same upper body strength as most women. And with that, like, it's certainly harder on her to pull her body weight up than it is like a small, 5'2" woman who has the same amount of upper body strength, right? And so for her, it's pretty cool because I know, like, she's been like really trying to get to the point where she can do a pull up, and these bands are cool because they help her, and she could do about like 3 or 4 now with the bands, and slowly work up that strength. So that's kind of cool to see it helping us with our goals. But yeah, I just wanted to plug that because I didn't know those existed. And I mean, they're as much of a game changer for me as just being able to have an at-home pull-up bar. You know what I mean? Like, they're pretty sick.
In our high school weight room, the bands we had, the new ones now are like a soft rubber material in a way. But like the ones we had in our high school gym were like the same consistency as like, you know, like the big pink eraser you used to have in like 3rd grade. Yeah. That's what that was like. The bands were like chalky like that. And
dude, you never know when they're going to break. There's like no warning.
Yep. And so one day I remember watching during weight class, some kid was like, all right, like, you know, just like how you can give yourself an eraser burn on the hand. Someone was like, all right, we're going to do it to your calves. And they like 2 big guys, like this dude stood there while 2 guys just like lumberjack team sawing this band across his calves for a while, and they started bleeding.
Bro, why? What?
It was just
high school boys, dude.
Just high school feats of strength and stupidity. But I remember like it was bad then, but the next day, this kid was wrecked.
Yeah, because his calves were scabbed up.
The whole calf was a scab.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's awful.
Yeah,
that's disgusting.
It is. It's rough. Like high school kids, I don't know why they do what they do, but like
it's totally different chemical balance in the brain, and I realize it now.
The hockey team put Rogaine on their nutsacks.
Yeah,
and it also scabbed them up bad. But the problem about a nutsack is that it's always kind of
rubbing.
Well, it's always contracting or expanding.
Yeah,
and so it took them forever to heal. Because the scabs would crack.
Jeez, man.
And so, you know, goes without saying, but don't put Rogaine on your nutsack.
I remember in high school there was this one kid. Now that we're just on the topic of dumb high school kids, there's this one kid who, like, what was I doing? I think I was just walking to the bathroom, like in the middle of the class, and it was like, you know, it was during that time of the day where like a lot of other kids had off hours, and I just see him walk around the corner in his gym shorts, full erection.
Oh no!
And I was like, what the hell, dude? And he was like, I took a Viagra, and he's like, I'm starting to get really worried here, and I don't know. He's like, I just don't know what to do other than just accept it. And just, dude, he was walking around, and it was honestly like one of the most. It was hilarious, but it was one of the most alpha inverse moves ever because dude was packing heat, dog, and like everyone saw it, man, everyone. And there's like, what do? You send the kid home? What teacher's gonna do that? No one. Like, you know what I mean? Like he just walked around for like 2 hours with an erection and just like went to class, just bumping on stuff, and I was just like, dude, fuck school kids, man. The things they do without thinking. Speaking of which, I just spent a weekend with the high schoolers.
Oh yeah,
we took our high school youth group at our local church out to go skiing and snowboarding for the weekend, and it was a really great time, dude. It was so much fun, just like hanging out with those kids and laughing with them and being back in like that kind of environment where, you know, all like the currency is just being fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the currency is just how funny are you and how much fun can you offer.
Mm-hmm.
It was super cool because like I just was remembering games and like bits and jokes that I thought were the funniest thing in high school or really entertaining. And it was cool because I got to pass them on to them and they had never heard of them. A lot of them, they weren't familiar with the jokes or one of the things we were doing in the car ride was like the classic car ride riddles.
Oh yeah.
And these kids had never heard of how to make a bowl of oatmeal, man. And I was just going through and like just watching these high schoolers' brains melt trying to figure out how do I make a bowl of oatmeal. It was like the way they'd get so frustrated. I'm trying to remember
now. It's like it's in my middle school brain.
All right,
let's do it. Yeah.
Listen up.
Yeah.
We'll make a bowl of oatmeal.
Yeah.
Make a bowl of oatmeal out of some of the Zen, some of this kombucha, and this microphone.
Right.
And that's a good bowl of oatmeal.
So I'm gonna make a bowl of oatmeal out of this fanny pack and this knife.
Nah, dude, that's a piece of oatmeal. That's disgusting.
All right. Listen up.
Promise me to God you'll never feed that to anybody.
All right. Listen up. I'm gonna make a bowl of oatmeal out of this fanny pack and this knife.
That's a delicious bowl of oatmeal.
But I'm gonna add in this 9mm round.
That's delicious.
Yeah. That's a delicious bowl of oatmeal.
That's a delicious bowl of oatmeal. And the fact that you just recalled that, or and like it took hours of high schoolers just pulling out their hair.
It's so fun to do it.
Oh
dude.
my gosh! And when they would get it, and they'd be like, "All right, I'm gonna make a bowl of oatmeal, okay, guys." And listen up, everybody, just listen up to me while I make this oatmeal. And like they say it, and they're waiting for my approval. I'm just like, that's a damn good bowl of oatmeal. They're like, yeah, oh yes. And like, we're on like a church trip, and some kids like, yes. And like the enthusiasm of like figuring out, and the joy of like struggling through something to the point you get it done. Have you ever played a road trip?
Maybe, but I don't know.
All right, so I'll do the road trip one. It's different. It's different than the road trip one's more fun, but you have to start with oatmeal or green glass door,
or they're never gonna get,
or they'll never figure out how to think. It's all about like getting them prepared for the harder ones and teaching them how to think and problem solve. What's the rules? But dude, this one was a good one. All right, Pat, I'm gonna take you on a road trip. I'm gonna start in Boston. And then I'm going to go to Raleigh. And in Raleigh, because it's such a nice town, I'm going to stay 4 nights. And after that, I'm going to go to Nantucket. And just driving through Nantucket on my way to Charleston. And in Charleston, because Charleston's so nice, I'm going to stay 4 nights. And then after that, I'm going to go to Sacramento. Where am I?
I feel like I had it, and now I overthought it.
I'm in Denver. And that, like, so many kids are like, wait. How are you in Denver? You ended in Sacramento. And like the way they go through stuff, and like, maybe it's like the nights have to do with how many letters from the previously stated city.
Right.
And then take that letter. And then, like, they just struggle so hard. Another, like the easiest one that I do with them to kind of get their wheels turning on like rules and commonality. I'll say, all right, I'm going on a road trip. I'm starting in Rochester. Because Rochester's awesome, I'm going to stay there 1 night before I leave. Then I'm going to go to Minneapolis. And then I'm just going to drive through Minneapolis to San Diego. Where am I?
I don't have it at all. I'm thinking too much now.
It's all right. This is why it's kind of fun. I tell them, I'm like, I could either be in Los Angeles or Fort Collins. But a few years ago, I would have been in St. Louis.
Oh no! Does that make it even harder? Is that a good hint?
Well, because somehow all three of those cities, Los Angeles, St. Louis, and Fort Collins, they have something in common, something that's known, internationally. And then like this is like examples of that, like another one. You ready?
I'm ready.
I'm gonna start off in Rochester, and I'm gonna stay there for one night.
Yeah.
But you know what? Rochester's a dope ass city, dog. So I'm gonna stay there another 3 nights. Then I'm gonna go to Dallas, and in Dallas I'm just gonna stay 2 nights. And then I'm gonna go to Raleigh. Then from Raleigh, just driving straight through to Sacramento. Where am I?
Oh man, I'm not gonna get it.
Well, here's the thing. Today,
mm-hmm.
I'm in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. But a few years ago, I would have been in Oakland.
Oh no.
I won't spoil it for you. I won't spoil it for anybody, but all that is like the hints that you kind of start giving out to them and stuff like that. I think it's
football teams. Maybe.
Okay. You're on to something there. You're on to something there.
Football teams.
Yep. Doesn't have to be football.
Mm-hmm.
It could be any sports team really.
Mm. Yeah. The
Rams are at Los Angeles now, right? LA Rams?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure it wasn't a different California city. But it's a fun one too because like I'm not even that good with sports or sports teams, right?
So Raiders are from, because you just did Las Vegas to Oakland with the Raiders, but what I don't know is how you could have been those 2 sports teams.
Well, it's all got to do with the road trip, man.
Right.
It's the places you go and the nights you stay.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's a good one.
That'll burn some time on a car ride.
Oh, dude, yeah, especially when you're driving like an hour and a half or 2 hours, or like
stuck
it's just
on I-70 for 4 hours.
Yeah, or like you're just, we did a lot of driving of like going from the hotel to the ski resort or going from the hotel to dinner, and like all that is just to like keep the kids engaged and talking and playing with each other, stuff like that. But it was also cool because I got to see like the classic, just like uphill battle that every boy in high school has of just being the man that the ladies want to hang out with.
Yeah.
And my favorite one was there's this young sophomore boy. Mm-hmm. And we were at Taco Bell and all the girls are hanging around him at the table, or he's at the table with all the girls and he's the only boy there. Mm-hmm. There's like 7 girls around him. And I just was kind of razzing a little bit. I'm like, man, look at you over here, dog, with all these ladies. And he's laughing and they're giggling. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, you know what's up, dog? How do you do it, man? How do you find yourself in this situation just surrounded by all the girls? And he's trying to come up with something slick. But one of the girls is just like, well, he's just like, the little brother we all have always wanted. And every one of them is like, yeah, he's just like so fun. It's like the little brother I just always needed. And I just saw him die. And I remember like I was behind him and I held him in my arms as he died in my arms, And I just told him, I was like, bro, you're screwed, man. You gotta wait till all these girls graduate. So that way none of them are calling you their little brother, and then you all have a chance with the girl.
He needs to get a tattoo.
Yeah, exactly. He needs to smoke cigarettes.
Do something wild. Oh my gosh. That's when they do that, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You're so screwed.
It was so funny though.
And the worst part is, even if one of them likes you, those might say that same thing.
Exactly.
Just because they're not going to own up to it either.
Exactly. Dude, it was a good time.
Oh, that is a good time.
It was cool too. I mean, it was fun because like I saw what I would label as kind of the more socially awkward, not just like introverted, but just like this, like the guys who don't really know how to take the first step into a group that clearly knows each other, like from prior history and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I got to see those guys kind of come out of their shell quite a bit. They did this thing the first night we were there where a bunch of them said it was a tradition. Mm-hmm. Granted, this is the second time we've done the ski trip, right?
Yeah.
But they said it was the yearly tradition to jump into the pool with all your clothes on. And last year, I wasn't like helping out with this youth group, but last year, apparently, a couple of these guys were just too cool for school, or maybe they just, it was awkward and they don't want to do it. But this year, I got to see those guys really get out of their like comfort zone and jump in the pool with their jeans and shirts on.
Oh yeah,
and play like pool dodgeball. It was just really cool to see that and encourage them and like reinforce that and be like, dude, that was so awesome, that was so funny, and like really be enthusiastic for them. And stepping out and trying to get involved in those things.
Because man, it's hard to be a kid.
Dude, it's so hard.
You just think that everybody's paying attention to you, and in some ways, you are being paid attention to more than like when you're an adult and people don't care as much certain things. But like for the most part, like everybody's figuring it out. Nobody knows what's actually going on, and so it's funny how you could like just with like a little tiny mustard seed of confidence that you have now as an adult, go back to middle school
and own it
and rule the whole place. You could rule the school, more or less. And it's like that being said, I've as an adult stood in a circle with middle schoolers and felt all of a sudden like I was back in middle school too. Like, no, you're like all those things start coming back.
I feel that way with these high schoolers all the time where I'm like, dude, they refer to me as the old guy, dude.
Oh yeah,
I'm 28.
Yeah,
but like, dude, they were roasting me. Like we were talking about restaurants where we want to eat and like tier list stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, hey guys, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna drop it here right now. Kava is some of the best food in town, man. I've never gone there and not been happy with it. And they rather than being like getting one affirmation, like, yeah, man, Kava's good. All of them were like, no, that's so millennial. That's such a millennial thing. My mom eats there, bro. And I was just like, what the hell's wrong with your mom eating that? Your mom has good taste in food. And like, dude, but I just was all of a sudden like, I realized I'm like, wow, my whole life, it was older people talking down on me for being a millennial.
Oh yeah.
Now all of a sudden these high schoolers are talking down on me for being a millennial.
That's not right.
Yeah.
And technically, we aren't even millennials.
I think I am. I think 95 was the last year.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was like, or it was, 90. It was something like.
I thought it was older than us.
It was like, it was like 80 through 95 is the millennial, or 85 through 95.
Okay.
Something
so
like
maybe
that.
like the last like couple years of it.
Yeah.
Yep. That whole world, I forget that world exists where you have to, and even still, like, I think like in some places, like in some like work environments, it kind of still exists, like in an office environment or certain things. And it's like, since I work for myself and work on my own too, it's just like, I forget that whole world of jockeying and proving yourself within whatever this little microcosm of a group thinks is cool is the thing. Like, and then most of the ways it's freeing.
Yeah.
And then maybe in other ways it makes you where you're unable to function with your peers. But but for the most part, it's just like, I'm going to wear these New Balances while I mow my lawn. I don't care anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so used to not caring and not giving a crap. Like I showed up to, what was it? Oh, I showed up to like drive kids on Friday up to where we were skiing. And, some kid was like, are those your work pants? Are you still wearing your work pants? I was like, what? And like, you got your nice work pants on? I'm like, these are just my like going outside pants.
Yeah.
I don't think you understand. I asked them, I was like, do you know what I do for a job? And they're like, go places. And I was just like, no, I work from home at my computer in my sweats. Like I wear my gym shorts while I'm doing work on the computer. Right. And, I just was like, I don't know. I was absolutely flabbergasted at just like all of a sudden, like, now my pants make me old or like a worker now. I don't know. But there's one thing that really stood out to me too. The more I'm hanging out with these high schoolers that like you and I just didn't have, I think, remotely the same experience with, is that like the currency for who's cool
Mm-hmm.
and who's funny is social media.
Yeah.
It's way more social media than it, because all the cool kids and all the not cool kids
Mm-hmm.
are like almost on the same playing ground when on the same level when we take the phones away, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
we don't take them away, but we ask them like, hey, give up your phone for the weekend so you can just
Mhm.
be present. And dude, like you quickly see like a lot of these kids, even the popular ones, don't know how to be funny when they can't edit a video to have like a good punchline on TikTok.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like they like some of them realize like their lunacy on social media of like acting silly in a video,
Mm-hmm.
not that funny when you
In
do it
real
in real life without a music soundtrack behind you.
Yep.
And that part was like really interesting because when I was in high school, man, most people didn't give a rat's ass what you're knowing. Actually, I can't think of anyone who cared what you posted on Facebook, as long as you weren't like airing out dirty laundry.
Right.
But like I remember like the biggest status on Facebook for me of like among my peers was my Farkle score. People were like, dude, how'd you get that high on Farkle, man? I'm like, dude, luck of the dice, bro.
Oh, like one of the like on the games.
It was a Facebook game.
Yeah, Facebook
and
games.
it was just like rolling dice essentially. Yep. And I remember towards the end, like my senior year was when like Twitter was getting more popular. And if you had people who were listening, like in your high school, listening to your Spotify playlist.
Oh yeah.
And but like that still wasn't like that high of a status thing. Right. It was just like, oh, how many followers you have on Twitter?
Right.
That's cool. I remember Instagram wasn't cool, dude. Like I had an Instagram account and people were like,
it wasn't the
that's
thing
kind of
yet.
like what moms on Facebook do, right? Like it was weird. Like, and Instagram was not a place to post funny pictures. Instagram was a place to post like your super cool artsy photos or like the fun adventures you're doing. You don't post a meme on Instagram. And now like the most popular things on Instagram are memes and jokes.
Right.
And so all that said, it was really interesting to see that because I was funnier and better at interacting than a lot of these kids were when there wasn't a phone between us.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I'm sure those kids are way funnier than me via social media. Like I'm sure they are way better at knowing.
They know all the inside jokes and the new thing and whatever.
And like the 140 character joke that's hilarious. Whereas I don't even have a Twitter. I don't use my Instagram.
Right.
I haven't opened Instagram in years. So all that said, that was really cool. But it also made me realize like they're dealing with a different economy than you and I were. You know, the economy's totally changed in social, like how you're decided if you're in or not in high school.
And what's crazy about what I see with some of the social media stuff, I think, is that it has become an underground society to like what parents know of what's going on. Like how kids see the world, how kids understand the world, what's going on around them, how they understand the news, how they interpret what that news means, and all whatever it may be. It's or there could be influencers that have a huge following who really are truly influencing like the thought and the culture that parents don't even know about. Like, the other day when I was talking to a parent, I was talking about Mr. Beast on YouTube.
Oh,
they're like, who's that? Like Mr. Beast. I'm like,
he's one of the good guys.
He is.
He's actually the one you want your kids watching.
Right. But that with that, where it's like, there may not be a kid in America between the ages of like 12 and like 17 who doesn't know who Mr. Beast is.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's 2 of them out there, or whatever, that one in like a commune in Utah or something. But other than that, like everybody's being influenced by that guy in this generation or whatever. But then parents are they might have no idea. Or like, I was talking to a kid the other day who was kind of being super nihilistic about like the world and the status of around like environmental stuff. And she was just like, the world's like literally like when I'm an adult, it's not even going to be here anymore. Don't you understand? like, and she being like kind of serious, like, and then bordered on to becoming like insulting my intelligence, which was like kind of fun and funny too. And I just held my tongue because I didn't want to roast a child, but it was just like,
No, dude, I love roasting those kids.
but just like, it was just like, do you not even know? Do you not even understand? You don't understand science. You do not understand science or what's going on in the world around us. And I just looked at her in the eyes. I was like, you believe everything Greta Thunberg says, don't you?
Exactly.
And she said, yes. She was just like, yes. Like, yes, those people are right. They're right about all of it. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And I believe that humans can affect the world
and the environment
around them by the way they treat it.
Yeah.
I believe that. Now, as far as like just how dire the situation may or may not become, it's like, well, I think is yet to be seen. And this planet, this rock that's hurtling through time and space, has gone through many iterations that we don't know what that's looked like for different times over a huge time scale.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I just started being like, I was like, well, what's the big deal? Like, we'll just get rid of the east and west coast, like the worst part of this place. Like, it'll be fine. Like when the water comes up, and then we just went full on, like, we're just like, because like the earth is flat. You realize that, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then like all birds are fake.
Yeah.
And then we just drove crazy till she wouldn't listen to us anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird, but it's sad at the same time. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I remember having a fear of climate change and being told like, hey, by the time you're out of high school, 2015 is like our mark on the calendar for when the ice caps will be melted and, people will be either drowned or having to move inward. And that didn't happen.
Right.
It also didn't happen in, 1995 when they said it was going to happen.
Yeah.
From, the 70s. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, I've realized now, and I'm coming around to the idea. I know this sounds like whack as hell to some people. It doesn't sound whack as hell to me, but I'm just starting to come around to the idea that like there is a lot of information out there that people claim to be like scientists, experts,
mm-hmm.
are claiming to be without a doubt fact.
Right.
When you examine science as a history, historical science,
mm-hmm. you
realize like, well, why does it affect this time when you were wrong and your predecessor was wrong and that predecessor was wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that they're right about. There's definitely
mm-hmm.
been things they were right about. And like, I remember reading a paper in middle school that was given to us about how climate change was going to accelerate vector-borne diseases in Africa.
Mm.
And it did. Like, mosquitoes are thriving more now than in any point in man recorded history in Africa. And it's due mostly to higher temperatures.
Right.
And I don't refute that. Like, I see that as like, hey, you know what? That's an observable like fact that we can measure with history and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of stuff that like we've also heard about how the ozone will never repair itself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, it did.
Mm.
Like, the hole in the ozone level that was originally from using hairspray products.
Right.
It's gone. It's
right.
fixed. Don't get me wrong. There's other holes in the ozone from pollution for sure. We can see them. We can measure them. We can, use infrared on satellite imaging to see where those holes are.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, like, if those aren't long-lasting, forever doomsday scenarios, it's not like the oxygen and the air we breathe is just going to go out that hole, like so many people kind of feared back in the day, And so, all that said, I'm not saying science. I work in the field of science. My title is senior consultant staff. Sorry, technical scientist. And I just have realized there's a lot that people don't know that other people just assume they know. and won't question them.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of people, I don't think, are intentionally being malicious about it. Like they're saying, like, here's what I think, here's what I'm finding, here's what I believe to the best of my ability, and what I understand. And so people are like, oh my gosh, that just means it's fact and it's going to happen. Well, if you study science and scientists, it actually doesn't happen all that much. Like, you know, a lot of times we're wrong. So all that said, I just remember being that afraid, and like to see kids that afraid now about like climate and stuff like that. I'm just like, my heart goes out to you, man. Hey, you know what? Let's be wise. Let's be wise. Let's err on the side of caution. And I'm all for, you know, lowering fossil fuels like responsibly.
Right. Like finding good ways to use energy.
Yeah. What I'm not for is absolutely like shutting down cold turkey our gas lines and becoming absolutely dependent on energy and gas from a foreign country, a competitor, right? You know what I mean? Like, look at Germany, you know, touted as one of the most environmentally friendly European countries. Well, as soon as the Ukraine-Russia war happened and Russia turned off the gas, they opened up the coal mines, and rather than using natural gas or having that infrastructure for the cleanest form of fossil fuels, they're using the dirtiest ones and burning coal and like diesel for fuel. And it's just like, dude, how the mighty have fallen from grace because they didn't do this right. They didn't do it responsibly. They did it what appeared and looked best on paper and to the news.
And like I saw this funny video the other day where, you know, there was an electric vehicle charging station, and out behind it, what was powering it
was a diesel generator.
Yeah. You know, it's just like, oh my goodness.
Well, dude, I loved watching that video from it was like the Michigan senator. It wasn't the governor, but it was the senator, and she was at like the GMC, one of the GMC factories, like one of the last ones in Michigan, essentially. It's a headquarters where they build some car stuff, but they were powering their electric car, and one of the people in the news was like, so where's the power for the car coming from? And they're like, well, it comes from the wall here. And it's just like, no, but where is it coming from? Well, it's the energy coming into the factory. It's like, okay, where's that coming from? It's like, oh, natural gas. Oh, okay. So the car is still being powered by natural gas. It's just converted.
Right.
Conversion metrics. And I don't know. I guess like I've always thought that with electric cars. I've always just been like, energy's still coming from fossil fuels most of the time. Sure, there's some places that are entirely renewable with wind or solar or what like now. And those cars that are being charged in those cities are being charged on renewable energy. It's not even close to the majority of this country, man.
No.
But like some people legit are flabbergasted by that. They're like, what? You mean like A equals B, B equals C, and C is coal? It's like, yeah, bud. Like you're still charging your car with like non-renewable energy.
Right.
You're just, sure, you're lowering the emissions from your gas. I mean, your car's not producing gas, but the emissions from that electricity is worse than a gas-powered vehicle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. We'll see what things change in the next 10 years, how much things, where technology takes us to and what things do change. And like, listening to this guy talk the other day about, he was out there and he kept like sucking me in, like with
local guy.
It was a guy on a podcast.
Oh,
yeah.
He
He was talking about like, all this, you know, basically stuff about like Nikola Tesla and like this, like just like infinite energy.
I think I know the guy you're talking about
in the world around us that you can pull from, and like all this stuff, and the way he talks about it, and he's like a mature doctor guy, an older man, and just like you're like, yeah, that sounds great. Like he's like the energy that's just within this like one atom, like we can like when we harness it, like how we can. There's guys out there who are, you know, they're powering their entire house off of these energy fields that are just all around us and stuff, and like, But then he'd always, the guy interviewing him would be like, have you seen these devices? He'd be like, oh yeah, we've seen them. He's like, why don't we have them everywhere? He's like, well, basically like the deep state like kills people off so that the technology can't get out there. Then I'm like, I don't think this is true, but it could be true.
Bro. Yeah. I mean, it is weird, like, because I'm also on the fine line. Like, there's this dude with I'm not trying to throw shade here, but he what's his name? Can't remember his name, but he's often with Graham Carlson, right? That's his name. The dude who he's the archaeologist. Craig, look this up.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, he goes around and he's talking about the same stuff, like these, the Tesla fields, infinite power. You just screw a light bulb into a pole in the ground, and with like this proper magnetic field, it's going to generate power for all these light bulbs. Now, all that said, we have documentation that Tesla was working on something like that. We also know that like Edison wasn't a great guy. Edison essentially like pulled the rug out from underneath Tesla to get ahead in the light bulb and electricity race. And Tesla, I think, just got, from what I understand, having read about him and stuff, I'm by no means an expert, but he just got disgruntled, like to the point of like, you know what? There's always a company, there's always a wealthy person making money off of the more inefficient method, and I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done sharing my stuff. I also don't want my stuff to be weaponized. But tell me, man, do you not know about the guy who figured out how to run his car on water, and then his last words were, they killed me, they poisoned me, and he died?
Yeah, I've heard about him.
Dude, have you watched any of his videos?
I haven't, but the hydrocar guy, I've heard of him. I haven't looked into it a ton, but
absolutely fascinating, dude. I genuinely do think like Big Auto killed that man.
Somebody. Or like a
world wasn't ready for it, man. It was the 70s or the 80s maybe. And I genuinely think he was just too much of a threat to like gas and oil industry and like vehicle makers. I think I definitely think someone poisoned him. And I know that sounds so like culty or like conspiracy theorists, but like I was like, dude, there's no way the government did that. And then I like watched enough stuff on it and I was just like, nah, man, I think they poisoned that guy. Like, I think they legit poisoned that guy because he wasn't willing to sell it. He never wanted to sell it. And what happens a lot of the time is like companies buy something, like they buy
a patent.
Yeah, well, they'll be like, this is a great idea. We like what you're doing here. We'd like to buy it from you. And then they buy it and they shelve it and it goes away forever. And they essentially, like you said, buy the patent and they're like, you can't make it anymore. You can't go and sell it to anyone else. Otherwise, we'll put you in prison. And we're not going to make it because we can't make it a lot of overhead on it. And it's just like, or it doesn't generate returning customers. Do you know about the light bulb agreements?
No, I don't.
Bro, so this is a factual thing out here. Like, you can research the documents. It's public documents. I encourage anyone to do it just because it's fascinating. But you can find in some parts of the country light bulbs that were made in like the 30s and 40s that are still working today. And it's because a lot of light bulb manufacturers were competing with each other to have a longer lasting light bulb. And they got to the point where they made light bulbs that can last more than a human lives. And they realized though they weren't going to have like repeat customers anymore. Soon everyone was just going to have light bulbs that didn't go out. And so now there's what's the term for it? Manufactured degradation or manufactured, can't remember the term. It's essentially a term of like creating a product that
it's the same thing that's in your iPhone.
Yeah, and making a product that will die. So that way they have to buy another one. And there's like an agreement right now about how long a light bulb is allowed to last.
Really?
Yeah, and it like all light bulb manufacturers have to agree to it. If anyone goes outside of that, they can face litigation. But yeah, it's and I found that so fascinating because like there's like a fire department somewhere that filmed their light bulb, and they had like expert come in because they were like, dude, this light bulb's been around for
forever,
decades, and we never like. There's no switch to turn this light off. Like this light stays on all the time, and it's like an old school, heated coil light bulb. And it just doesn't burn out.
I wonder, on those light bulb agreements, are LEDs outside of that?
No. There's like specific rules for. Let me look all this up here.
That's interesting.
Well,
and I was talking to a guy who he's in sales for a company, and they make products for your house. And he was like, "Yeah, like our new stuff that we're making, like this new line, like it won't last as long, like so that you can have more business." I was like, really? I don't like that.
Yep.
Don't like the sound of that. Whereas, it was just they were building it so that it would break. And they
do that with everything though. Everything, certainly not things that like we don't have the technology right now to make them better.
Right.
Like there's things that like we're just like, yeah, it'd be great if that lasted longer when we're working on it.
Right.
But there's other things that we have figured out how to make them like last pretty indefinite.
Right. That's like every appliance in your house used to last a lot longer.
Yep.
I was in a house that was built in 1910, and they had the same boiler in their basement.
Wow.
And they've never replaced it, and they maybe never will, to a point. Like eventually the materials will degrade enough where it has to be replaced. But everybody else who has a boiler that got put in the 80s, that thing's getting replaced. And the same with I was with a guy who he had an air conditioner unit that was installed in like, I don't know how old it was, but it was old as heck. I never seen an air conditioner that looked like it. And he said whenever the HVAC guys come out to it, they're like, "We've never seen this before," and I can't believe it's still running, but it's still perfectly fine.
That's crazy. That's kind of like the furnace in my old college house. The furnace in my old college house is the size of a room, but still works, still runs, heats the whole house really well.
Yeah.
And it's not an energy efficient home.
Yeah.
The windows are hardly hanging on, but it would warm the house up real quick.
Yep.
But again, it was probably 6 feet by 6 feet. It was huge. And it took up so much. I remember when like a different maintenance company took over the contract, and the guy came in and he's like, "Holy shit, this thing is a dinosaur." I'm like, "Yeah, it's massive. I don't know, but like it keeps the house warm." He's like, "I don't think you understand, dude. Like the fact that this thing is still running, it blows my mind." This was put in when this house was built in like 1904.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, all right. All right, I found it here because Craig is still piddling away and not being helpful. So the Centennial light bulb is the bulb that's often referenced. The Centennial light is this light that's been on for over 115 years at a fire station in Livermore, California. And it's essentially what people reference as like the term manufactured or planned obsolescence.
Oh, yep.
And it's odd, because you could say really easy scapegoat wise this has to do with greed of companies needing repeat customers. But there's a lot that goes into it, such as like changing marketing demand. We build a better light bulb, a brighter light bulb, more energy efficient, so replace your old ones, right? All that said, we have found the papers, and this is why people believe in the manufactured obsolescence, is because there was this thing called the Phoebus Cartel. The Phoebus Cartel was in the 1920s, wherein representatives from top light bulb manufacturers worldwide, such as Germany's Osram, United Kingdom's Associated Electrical Industries, and General Electric in the United States, colluded to artificially reduce bulbs' lifetimes to 1,000 hours. The details of the scams emerged decades later in governmental and journalistic investigations. And people are, essentially they point to the cartel, but it's because it's the most obvious example. We have the
Right.
documents.
Mhm.
It is a real thing. It did exist. Now, what is that like today? It's kind of harder to nail it down. But it's nothing new under the sun, man.
Mhm.
You gotta keep customers. And if you want a customer to buy the newer and better thing and get your product sold, best way to do it is make your old product die.
Mhm.
Rather than people being like, oh no, it works fine. It meets all my needs. I don't need to change. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Especially products that are necessities or you've grown to have them as a necessity,
Mm-hmm.
like your cell phone,
Yep.
like a light bulb, like these things that, like your heater in your house. And I think that I don't know what the right answer is to how to solve that, but I think that certain small companies do kind of have gone after this sort of stuff, like with lifetime warranties on their stuff. And I think of certain like whatever, like a company like
OtterBox is a pretty big warranty on their stuff.
Like OtterBox, yeah. Every time anything chips or breaks on it, you just go in and they.
Sorry, Otter Products.
Yes, Otter Products.
They're no longer boxes.
That's true. So you go in there and they just slap a new one on there, and that's because, for them, luckily they have a product that costs $1 to make and they sell it for $100.
Yep,
more or less.
I mean,
and so they're able to still make money by replacing your phone case or your screen protector over time. And the funny thing about that one, though, is they get to piggyback on this planned obsolescence of smartphones, because eventually the model's going to change and your OtterBox isn't going to fit anything anymore.
Yep.
So they do get to piggyback on that in some ways, but then but certain companies or smaller companies, I feel like do make effort to do the right thing and try to provide something that that's going to last a long time. And for a small company, it's like, everybody in America has used in some way something from GE. Every person in America has been in a room that was lit by it. That was something was
vehicle using
it, or some food was prepared or heated on it, some clothes were washed, whatever it was. Every single person in America has passed that product. And so, like, for a company like that, they're not aspiring to sell a product to every single person in America. They already have. So they have to either come up with new products or have products that people need to replace. Whereas smaller companies, a small 12-person company, if they sold their product to, say a small 10%, which is a huge amount, but 10% of the nation, they could retire. They could be done. They can go fishing with their grandkids for the rest of their life.
Yep.
They could be done, and so that's where I think some of those things are, they get driven from.
On a side note, that's why I always thought about, as a kid, I thought I should make a toilet paper company. No one in America will ever be okay going back to before toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
No one will ever be okay with having to use their hand or leaves or whatever. So I should make a toilet paper company, even though I'm a small fry.
Yeah. Did you think about that during COVID? Again, did it like?
I did. I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have gone to college. I should just learn how to open a toilet paper company.
Yep.
Randall Carlson is the guy I was thinking of. Craig just sent this over, and he's the guy who's talking about how he knows people down in the Maldives using it with 99% efficiency, and it's all that, like, I mean, it's I don't know. It kind of strikes me as hocus pocus, right? Because they throw around the big names of, Chris Dunn, Nikola Tesla. It's just like these names that have credentials to them, and where there's like rumors of what they worked on, what they didn't, their theories, and then it's I mean, there's nothing. I think if I remember right, he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was like, "It's coming, Joe, and as soon as it's here, we want to get back on the podcast and share with everybody because we want everybody to have free energy."
Yeah. What did you say his name was?
Randall Carlson.
Randall Carlson. Because there's another guy, same thing. He was on the podcast. Who was Dr. Stephen Greer, and he's same thing where it's like, right on the cusp of all this breakthrough, and all these people have this technology, and it's getting shut down, and they'd get a lot more traction if the next phrase out of his mouth wasn't something along the lines of, "And we really screwed up that first time we launched a nuclear bomb." At that point, all the other life forms in the universe, they lost trust in Earth and the people on it. And you're like, time out.
Okay, come on, man. Even if I want to believe, you can't just be. You totally just ruined any credential I have in sharing your theories.
Yep. And the funny, maybe whatever one of these guys is right about all of it, all the crazy stuff all the way around. Aliens built the pyramids. Area 51 has some alien bodies in it, and America has black sites where they've built these these aircraft that aren't extraterrestrial. They're man-made that can
defy the laws of physics.
Yeah, do all that stuff, and if if it all comes out that they're right, great. But for the time being, it's like, nobody can. Everybody stops listening to you then.
Yeah. I think the craziest thing too is just how little people care about aliens nowadays. Dude, aliens used to be like the most coolest shit. You go to the library in school, you'd find like the few alien books there. You're like, damn, bro, like what? These accounts of aliens? And you just be reading through it, and you'd be telling all your friends about these different times when people got abducted and stuff. And then now it's like the U.S. government just like threw that shit during COVID, like under like nobody was really paying attention, I guess, and just like, also here's photos that we have that we can't explain. Videos we can't explain
of all these UFOs.
And some like some normal like pilots from the Air Force, retired Navy pilots as well, and then some like video effects artists just like went through it and analyzed it, and they're like, it's not like CGI or anything, but like I can tell you what's happening. Like that's literally the same thing that happens when you have the reflection off the water, and what looks like flying over the water really fast is the shadow of the jet, and it's like in the camera lens, and like then they like show you how like that happens on like a drone camera,
right,
moving like a tenth of the speed, and you're just like, oh, okay, the government couldn't figure that out.
Yeah, you're like, how much did the government pay you to say that?
Yeah,
to cover up that they're actually aliens.
Here's the other thing, man. I have worked with the government. Doesn't surprise me that they couldn't figure it out. Ask anyone who's ever, to our kin out there, please, don't go against any policies you signed of secrecy or anything like that. But if you can share a story of how you worked as a consultant or a contractor for the U.S. government and worked with some of the employees within the U.S. government, and how inept they were at their jobs, please write in, because those are always hilarious. I've met guys who were contractors for building like top secret skiff sites, and they didn't tell me anything like, oh, here's the location, here's the password, and here's the back door that we put in. Nothing like that. But they're just like, dude, oh my gosh, it was a pain in the ass. I'll never work like for the Department of Defense again. Oh, why, dude? Department of Defense? That's got to be big wigs, dude. That's got to be people who know what they're doing. Nah, dude, they were the most incapable, dumbest people. I did everything in my power to get them moved off of the job because they were always in the way. They were always going back and forth and blaming me for decisions that they made to change the stuff. And when I would tell them, like, you decided to change this. Here's the email and the date of when you told us to do this other thing. They get really pissed. Like, they can't accept it. Like, they're just like, well, you should have told us then that this wouldn't work. And it's just like just that kind of bad, not very good employee and manager behavior. And it's just proliferated through the government, man. Because like those people, I have a joke, man. Like, those people could not show up to work for weeks, and they could fail at their job every day, and they wouldn't get fired. They legit have to kill someone to get fired.
Yep. Yeah. And it's like, which president had the buck stops here on his desk?
I don't know.
Was it Eisenhower or was it was during the Great Depression.
FDR?
So it wasn't Eisenhower, but maybe it was him, but it was like they just that concept of like the passing the buck, where it's like in government, there's almost always technically somebody higher than you. It's their fault, or that they didn't get their thing right. And I was listening to a guy talk about that, and he said two things. He was like, he's like, well, anybody who's been to the DMV, this everybody knows. Anybody who's been to the DMV, knows that like, efficiencies and running things well and doing your job well is like,
the last thing
is kind of not a thing. And the other thing was, he was like, and no offense to the teachers out there who are working hard to teach kids stuff and, making not a lot of money for a lot of hassle, but from a decision-making standpoint or efficiency standpoint, he was like, get 5 to 10 teachers together and try to see if they can pick out where to go to lunch. They can't. It won't happen. It's like, it won't happen, dude. It won't get done.
That's crazy.
It just won't happen.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's not necessarily an absolutism for everybody, but it is a general concept. So I think it stands,
Yeah. I mean, the thing that blows my mind is that, like, I get to hear about the cool things the government's doing in my job, cool projects and all that. I get cool emails and memos that I'm like excited about. And then I work on those things and I realize the same people who are bad and inefficient at their job at the DMV, those same people are hired at like every level on a government project in other agencies.
Like in our presidential cabinet.
Yeah.
Like what's the, like Pete Buttigieg right now is his position as like, with the title, but the transportation.
Whatever. It's a silly thing.
Yeah. But it's just like all that stuff is literally going off the rails.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like, whatever. The guy's probably a pretty capable individual for the most part, but all he was a mayor for a little while.
Yep.
And then he was kind of like,
he doesn't know what the he's doing.
No.
He's literally using contractors, because the thing that's blowing my mind is how, like, on average, I can't remember the real number off the top of my head, so I'm going to try to lowball it. But on average, for every government employee, there are 10 contractors and consultants that the government is paying to do the job of that employee. Like, it's crazy, dude. Yeah. It's insane how many, like, I don't speak to that many. I guess I speak to a couple of them, but like, there's a lot of people who I like interact with that are just, I would say majority of people I spend time with working are other consultants and contractors. And like the size of our teams and the way we're connected to such a smaller government team, it's like, why do we even need that? These 5 people, like, they're not doing anything. In fact, they're only getting in the way. It'd be easier if we removed them and we just moved up the chain to the next person who has the next ability to make a decision. And eventually we should just remove them until we get to the people who actually can think critically and problem solve. Yeah. It's crazy, dog.
Yep. And so I think too, like, easy to criticize the government. And from an individualist, there's lots of individuals who work in the government who are capable, but the way the system is set up around them, it doesn't, the gears don't turn either. It's like, because, that's the thing too. It's not just, we're not saying every single person who works for or in the government is inept to do their job necessarily, while there are many who are. Yeah. But just within the systems and organizations that are set up, they're set up where they can't get it done.
The bureaucracy kills, I think, the ability to problem solve and think ingenuitively and like try to come up with solutions to save time and resolve problems. Yeah. And I can only imagine how jaded and disgruntled you get before you just roll over and you're like, no, that's not how we do it here. We do it this way. Why? Because it's the way we've always done it. Right. Does it work? Eventually. And we don't want you to change it, because then when that changes the whole process. And because we're the government, we have to document everything. and it gets so bureaucratic.
Yep.
And it gets to the point where it just sucks the life out of everything. Whereas like when you work in a contract consulting role,
Mm-hmm.
you're literally hired and getting paid to just be like a creative problem solver.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, take that to them and grind your teeth through that paperwork because they're going to document everything.
Mm-hmm.
But by the end of the day, you're going to earn that paycheck by having solved the problem that a department in the government couldn't because of all the red tape.
Mm-hmm. That's why dictatorships can move quickly. Not that's any. They have their own problems, obviously.
They got their own problems for sure.
Too, but it's like they're like, it's like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna do this. We're gonna right now, and then make it done, or everybody goes to jail, or whatever. And that's not how. I'm not saying that's good, but what we've done is we've got a really good system that's just that in its DNA has eventually crippled itself.
Yeah. Maybe that's just the law of entropy at work, though. Everything will eventually just lose all energy and take the easiest form.
Yeah.
The form of least resistance until the universe is a cold, flat hellscape. That's legitimately like, I get so much more cynical. Like the more as like time goes on in like my job, I'm just like, all of this is falling apart. As soon as you build it, it's beginning to decay.
Yeah.
Eventually it'll just be flat atoms on a plane in darkness. There won't even be starlight.
Mm-hmm.
That's how cynical I get about it.
That's what I think. People who are happiest in this world focus on the little things. They don't sweat the little things.
Yeah.
But they focus on the little things to put their effort into. Like, I think of like main example was like the Mother Teresa example.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't really change the world.
Dude, I don't know jack about Mother Teresa.
I mean, basically she was a nurse.
I heard she was a nice lady.
She gave care to people in need.
Yeah.
But everybody's heard her name.
Mm-hmm.
And she did change the world through her tiny little actions, through interpersonal connection and taking care of others. And, she didn't change a whole system. She didn't, reinvent a wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think of, people who have a lot of satisfaction in life, there are people out there who do end up changing the world, but it's in these little tiny interactions between people and making people's individual lives better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I agree. I'm also a big believer in you gotta like to really take pride in your career and not feel get jaded or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you got to be in a career, at least for me, have to be in a career where you can build something, and when it's built, you let it go and you move on to the next project.
Mm-hmm.
Because sure, one day you might see that first project that you worked on and it's crumpled into dust because it was bad management after you finished building it.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, you remember what it was like at its glory,
mm-hmm.
at its peak,
mm-hmm.
and you accepted that it was probably going to end up in dust, and you let it go, both hands open to go on to whatever it become.
Mm-hmm.
But you also built 1,000 other things, in the time since. And so that's kind of how I feel about this stuff is as a contractor, you do what you can to build what you can, and then you pass it on and you go on to build the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, on that nihilistic note, well, we appreciate all of you for listening. Thank you, Ken, for tuning in. We'd love to hear from you all regarding your thoughts on manufactured obsolescence and what your experience is with that, whether it's your phone battery, your spark plugs, your
maybe it's you
roof.
Maybe you feel like you're manufactured obsolescence.
Maybe you feel like God made you just to die. What? So grim, so dark, so nihilistic. But we love you all. We like hearing from you, getting feedback. Leave us a review, a genuine review. Let us know if you're enjoying the show, if there's other things you want to hear more about. But yeah, Pat, anything else?
Yeah, I think the kind of like I was just saying before, is just the only way out of that, becoming jaded and a nihilist, is to pay attention to the people around you. Have a barbecue, invite a friend over.
Be a neighbor.
Be a neighbor. Learn your neighbors' names. I should probably do that. Be better at that. And I think that we even started this conversation talking about culture and losing culture.
Yeah.
And I think, and losing culture via the machine.
The machine moves on.
Yeah. So you got to find the little places to hold on to that. And you actually have the power to build culture and make culture and make something alive. So go find a way to do that. Make something alive. So thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And till next time.
Till next time.
Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.